Mrs. Romer, my third grade teacher, gave a brief description of the parts of speech, noun, verb, adjective, then asked us to list as many examples as we could for each category, which she wrote in brightly colored markers, a different color for each part of speech, on large chart paper. I do remember the colors, which pleased my eye. What makes me remember this entire lesson, however, was when she had the class stand up from our seats to perform the actions of the words we had listed on the verbs poster. Jump, skip, walk, stand, dance. Together we moved. The children of the class jumped, we skipped, we walked in a circle around the classroom, we stopped and stood, we danced. Remember sitting at your desk, probably in a row, throughout your elementary, then junior high, and finally your high school years? Sure you do. Do you remember any particular moments of that time you spent sitting? A quick calculation of 12 school years times 180 days per school year times 7 classes per day of 40 minutes each reveals that we sit during our school career for approximately 10,000 hours. I remember some distinct moments of learning through my educational experience from 1st through 12th grade, and I think none of them, or very, very few of them, were from my stationary position at my student desk. I do remember and gained a deep understanding of parts of speech, especially the verbs. Why has this lesson moment remained in my memory? We talk about learning and education because, after all, isn't that what schools are for? But what educators and parents are truly interested in is actually learning acquisition. There's an important difference between the two. To summarize, learning involves lessons that will lead mostly to memorization for the quiz on Friday, versus learning acquisition, which refers to storing skills and knowledge in your long-term memory, ideally in such a way that it becomes part of who you are. An excellent example of the process and result of learning acquisition is the way in which we acquire our first language. We acquire language in such a way that when we want to communicate, to say something, we don't begin by thinking of vocabulary lists or grammar rules. The rate at which we have a thought and then communicate it happens nearly simultaneously at the speed of light. We have successfully acquired our first language. The language is us and we are it. The language's vocabulary, syntax, rules with their exceptions, nuances, and subtleties have become a part of us. It has helped us to construct the person we become. This is acquisition. By the way, we acquire language often during physical movement. And if nothing else, our mouths are moving. So how can students in school acquire versus learn? One important way is through movement. Although opportunity for movement in a conventional schooling approach is rare, as was my singular grammar memory from the 3rd grade, when children are provided with a learning environment in which they can move freely and with purpose, we know that more acquisition of academic material is happening. According to researchers Joseph Donnelly and Kate Lambert in their 2011 article, Classroom-Based Physical Activity, Cognition, and Academic Achievement, published in the journal Preventative Medicine, physical activity activates the brain, improves cognitive function, and is consistently correlated with improved academic performance. There are ways to incorporate gimmicky movement activities within conventional desks and rows schools, with dance breaks, quiz prep games, etc. And there are approaches to schooling in which movement is incorporated into how children learn. Movement or physical activity is an essential factor in intellectual growth. So says Dr. Maria Montessori in her 1936 book, The Secret of Childhood. Students in schools that provide a learning environment within which they have freedom of movement have proven greater academic outcomes, are socially adept, and have strong self-confidence. I have observed my own 4 sons who attended such schools, as well as the many students in the Montessori school I direct, thrive with deep understanding of academic content as they spend their hours each day, not in student desk chairs, but moving freely from table to table or even to the floor to complete their assignments, which are usually with hands-on materials that they manipulate for concrete understanding. They are acquiring with experiences in listening, reading, writing, practicing math, and also importantly, through moving their bodies and hands through their lessons.